Today, I'm going to try and start working on the brakes. So, the struggle begins. Alright, there she goes. All things considered, it really doesn't look too bad at all. Initially, what I had found was, I think this wheel cylinder was leaking a little bit. So I was going to do wheel cylinders on both sides, but then I was like, you know what? Maybe I should get some pads too. So I'm going to double check and make sure about the pads before I put the new ones on. Ideally, I would keep as many OEM parts on this van as possible, simply because OEM's usually better. And if you look at the thickness comparison, they are pretty similar. My main issue with these ones is that there's some imperfections and they're not OEM. So I think I will end up doing the pads. You can see this bottom part of the left side one looks a little bit worn down. Don't really know what I'm doing here, but I'm gonna try my best. I don't have the brake tool for this, so we're just gonna use some vice grips. Like I said, don't really know what I'm doing, so I'm kind of just trying a bunch of random stuff. I disconnected this piece, so now I'm just turning this adjustment all the way in so that I can get some more slack on this upper spring. I was able to get this lower one out that's down here. There we go. Alright. Make sure this doesn't go tumbling. Alright, so there's a brake line going into this wheel cylinder behind the whatever this is called here. So I unscrewed that, capped it with a little black cap like this so it didn't leak. Now there's two bolts holding this sucker on. They are 10mm. There it is. And here's a little cap poking through. You can also loosen that with a 10mm on the opposite side. Make sure you do that before you remove the cylinder, or else you're gonna have some issues. Now, I'm gonna give it a brief cleaning. I don't know if you guys can hear that flicker in the background, but that's what's making those weird noises. When I first heard a bird make that call, I thought it was a seagull. But turns out, definitely not a seagull. It does sort of sound seagull-ish though. So, I suppose I can see why I thought that. New wheel cylinder is going to get put in. Make sure you remove this red cap. That's where the brake line comes in. Now I'm going to hook that brake line back up. Might want to have a drip pan under here because it does make a little bit of a mess. I'm experiencing some slight complications. This little pin clip thingy has to be removed so I can transfer this piece onto the new pad. You can see they both have that little nub right at the tip there, so that is what it goes around on the new one. Alright, transfer has been made. Basically, just had to kind of bend this clip a little bit, and now I gotta bend it back. Alright, here's the right side, goes here, then we got this other piece, and based on my pictures, it needs to go right about here, and then this spring attaches them together. Alright, I stopped recording because I was getting too stressed. Anyways, here it is, finally assembled. Got the new cylinder, the wheel cylinder, everything's greased up, new pads. So I found it easiest to put this upper spring on and this adjustment bar first, and then I clamped this side of the pad to the back of the dust shield just to hold it in place while I got this one in place. Got the spring attached on the top, and then finally, to finish it up, I did the spring on the bottom. And here's a little closer just so you can sort of see everything. Here's the bottom. The one thing I am trying to figure out is how to set the adjustment properly. Now, it does look like there's a little, whoops, there is in fact a little window, I guess you could say. It's right here. You can kind of, right here, you can see my fingers behind there. So that is what is going to be used to adjust this once the drums are back on. Because it is an all-wheel drive vehicle, you can't just turn this unless the front wheels are off the ground. I think the e-brake is not on right now. It is in park, so I might have to switch into neutral in order to see the drag on the drums. But that's it reassembled. Yesterday, after I wrapped up, I realized that I forgot to put these springs in. So I just quickly put those back in with the vice grips, made sure everything was nice and tight. So now the side is legitimately ready to go. Just have to adjust this once I finish the other side. It's always a battle with drum brakes. I mean, there's really no easy way to say it. It's always a struggle. Anywho, you know what? I'm going to leave that on there for now. Now, struggle time with this lower spring. Oh gosh. I'm right there. Just won't go in. Lower spring is officially installed. Wow. Now I'm actually going to remember these springs this time, so that's always good. My thumb's poking out a little bit. Oh well. You know, try to use gloves to keep the hands a little cleaner, but you know, it never really ends up working out in my favor. I just end up having a glove in the way, pretty much. Nobody likes a glove in the way. Definitely removes some dexterity, and that is much needed in situations like these. Alright, we're going with the classic vice grip installation once again. It works if you do it right. Come on! Alright. I don't know if you can hear that hooing noise. It's kind of a howl, but I believe that is a collared dove. They make a pretty cool noise, and it's quite relaxing actually, especially when I'm working on something like this, which is a little stress-inducing. So those are the two springs, and I'm going to double check and make sure everything is assembled correctly. And then first, let's make sure this drum fits on here. And then I didn't adjust the shoes too wide. Well, I might have adjusted the shoes too wide. I intentionally left this little clip off, and I also might have unintentionally lost it because I'm not using my magnet holder. There it is. There's the culprit. It blended in perfectly to the asphalt, so it was actually in the exact same spot that I left it. I just couldn't see it, so thank goodness I found it. So, as I mentioned, the drum is too big. Well, I shouldn't say that. The shoes are adjusted too large for the drum to fit. So, just gotta come in here and make this a little smaller. I believe this one is reverse thread, so I was struggling with it for a while when I was removing it, but I think I'm going the right way now. It still feels a little tight. Oh, there we go. I am going to loosen it a little more, because once the drum is on, it is a lot easier to extend this bar than it is to close it back up. We'll call that good. I'm gonna put the drum back on and call it a night. I've been working on this van after work, so I don't have a ton of time before the daylight fades away, so I'm just doing my best. The next thing we gotta do is get the front wheels off the ground so that I can check the drag on these drums, and then I'll do the front brakes, which hopefully will be easier because they are discs and calipers instead of the drum setup. All right. Well, it's another beautiful day here in the Pacific Northwest, and hopefully these two tools are all I'm gonna need today. So I've got the front jacked up and the wheels can move freely. Now I'm gonna hop in there, put the van in neutral, and then see if I can adjust the rear drum drag. Dang, this is gonna be harder than I thought. Since it's all-wheel drive, all the wheels spin. That's not something I can disengage, which means whenever I turn any wheel, it's gonna turn the rest of them, because they're all connected. Which means it's pretty difficult to turn them. So it's a little difficult to show you this, but I'm back behind the left rear wheel right now, and you can see that little sort of, come on, that little oval hole underneath the wheel cylinder is where I'm reaching in with the screwdriver to adjust the brake shoes, and it's a lot of going back and forth. Like I said earlier, it's difficult to spin the wheels, so I've kind of just been pulling the drum on and off to see the resistance instead of spinning it. But it is definitely a little bit tedious. I can definitely feel some resistance. And another thing you can do is go inside the car, set the e-brake, and then see how much it spins. So I'll give that a shot just as a demonstration right now. This is with the car in neutral. And this is with the e-brake set. And that isn't moving at all. So I might actually have adjusted this one too much. Or maybe it's just right. But it's honestly really hard to tell. I'm not a drum brake guy. Although I do suppose one good sign is being able to turn the front wheel and have the back wheel not move at all because the brake is holding it in place. I think we're in a good spot to leave these for now. They spin relatively freely in neutral as far as I can tell because of the resistance of the all-wheel drive system. And then when I rip the e-brake, they don't move at all. Zero movement, even when I spin the front wheels. So it's in park now, so it's not going to spin, but they still move back and forth like that with a little bit of resistance, which I think is the key, not a lot of resistance. And then the other side's the same. So I'm just gonna pop these covers back on, and then in the next video I'm gonna do a rebuild on the front calipers. I'm gonna do the pads in the front, and then I will flush the brake system and do all new fresh .3 brake fluid. So I will definitely remember to bleed the brakes on the rear when I do that. So that will be for next time. So thanks for watching, making it to the end of the video. Hopefully I could help some of you guys out. I know there's not a ton of information out there about HiAces, and I hope that no one expects this channel to become a heavy resource of HiAce information, because to be honest, I don't know if I'd call myself the most trustworthy source of information out there. Just because I don't really know what I'm doing. So anyways, thanks for watching. See you later.